Welcome to Pragim Technologies. I am Venkat. This is part 19 of ASP.NET MVC tutorial. In this video, we'll discuss unintended updates in MVC. Please watch part 18 before proceeding with this video. At the moment, if you look at this Edit Employee view, all the fields of the employee, name, gender, city, and date of birth, are editable. Let's say we want to make name field read-only so that users will not be able to change the name of the employee. Let's see how to achieve that. Let's flip to Visual Studio and notice that at the moment we are using this HTML helper editor for. This HTML helper is what rendering this text box control for us. So if we right click on this and view page source, notice that we have an input control here and its type is text, and look at the value mark, which is what is the name of the employee that's rendered in this text box control right here. So instead of using this editor for HTML helper, which is rendering the text box control, I'm going to use dot display for HTML helper. With this change, let's go ahead and run this. And let's navigate to the index action of the employee controller. Click edit and notice that now we have the name rendered without that text box control. Let's now right click and view page source and look at the name, how it's rendered now. It's not rendered using any of the input controls. Instead, it's rendered as plain text wrapped inside a div tag. Because of the way the name of the employee is now rendered here, we're going to have a slight problem. Let me click on the save button, see what's going to happen. Look at that, the name field is required. And why is that? That's because if you remember in the previous session, we have marked name property of the employee class with required attribute, meaning when we post this data back to the server, the posted form values that are received at the server should have name posted as well. But since it's not present in any of the input controls, it's not posted back to the server. So to solve this problem, we can use a hidden field on the view. Just like how, look at this, we are already using a hidden field to store the ID of the employee. Just like that, I can use another hidden field to store the name of the employee, so that when we click the save button, from that hidden field, name of the employee will be retrieved and posted to the server. Okay, so let's go ahead and use a hidden field here. Okay, so with this change, let's run this now and let's navigate to the index action of the employee controller. Click edit and let's change, for example, gender of Mark from male to female. Click save, so we don't get that validation error anymore, and look at the update, it happens as expected. Alright, now at the moment we may think it's impossible to change the name of the employee using this edit view because we marked this field read only, so users will not be able to change the name of the employee. But that's not true. We can very easily hack into this application and change the name of the employee. Okay, let's see how to do that. To do that, I'm going to use a tool called Fiddler. Fiddler is a very useful debugging tool. We'll talk, about Fiddler in a great detail in a later video session, but in this video we'll see how to generate a post request and execute it on the server using this Fiddler tool. To download Fiddler, you can visit this URL fiddler2.com/get-fiddler. And the installation is very straightforward. All we need to do is download the executable and follow the prompts. Once you have Fiddler installed, click on Start, go to All Programs, and then click on Fiddler 2. So this will track all the requests. Okay, so this web sessions window will show you the URLs that you have visited. For example, now let's go back to the list. Let's click edit once again. So if we go back to the Fiddler, look at that, I have visited this URL, MVC demo employee edit 1. So I am on that URL looking the details of that employee with ID is equal to 1. And look at Fiddler has captured that. Look at this here, I am on the inspectors tab under headers. I can see the request header here. And then if I want to actually see the data, the response, look at this, I can click on this button here. It says response is encoded and may need to be decoded. So I click on that, and then if I go to web view, I should see the data on the as I see it on this page right here. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is click save. Let's actually change the gender of Mark from female to male, and let's click save. So the data is posted back to the server. So that should have been captured as well, the post request. Okay, after we have posted the data, it is automatically redirected to index action of the employee. That's the URL there. It just says MVC demo / employee. So we can see that URL there as well. So this is the post request. And then if you want to see the post data, so this is the post request. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this request that Fiddler has captured and generate another post request. And to generate a post request using Fiddler, click on this Composer tab, and then this is the post request. I'm going to take this post request and drag and drop onto the Composer tab. And see, this is the request header and this is the request body. And notice what we have in request body: ID, name, gender, city, and date of birth. I have all the posted form values here. What I'm going to do here is change the name of the employee. Now, if you remember, when I click edit, we can't change name here, but I can change it right here. So I am going to change name of Mark from Mark to something like XYZ. Now let's quickly go back to database, execute. Look at that. At the moment, employee ID is equal to 1, name is still Mark. Let's go back to Fiddler. So we have changed the request body, and let me click execute and see what's going to happen. So request executed. Now let's go back to SQL Server, execute that query. Look at the name of the employee, XYZ. Let's actually go back to the list. Look at that. Name of that employee is XYZ. So in spite of we making this field read only, we are still able to hack into the application using Fiddler and then generate that post request, change whatever values we want to change, and we are able to post that data back. And how is this possible? Because of the way we have implemented this code. Look at this controller action method. This controller action method is receiving this employee object, and the default model binder within MVC, what it does is whatever data that we post, it's going to take the data out of that request and bind that with this employee object. So it has got ID, employee, ID, name, gender, city, date of birth, all of the fields in this request that we have posted. It's going to simply, the default model binder will retrieve that values, bind that data with this object, this employee object, which is then handed over to save employee. So that data is making into the database table. In our next video session, we'll see how to solve this problem using that update model and try update model functions that we discussed in the previous sessions of this video series. On this slide, you can find resources for ASP.NET C# and SQL Server interview questions. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.